Welcome everyone to the INXO Online Talk Series, Arts Beyond Distance. I'm Ejen from the INXO Arts and Culture Foundation. I'll be the moderator today. This is our third episode of season 1. So this is a platform created to bring distance closer. We want to know more about our homegrown Malaysian artists. So every evening we feature one Malaysian artist and we talk to them about the motivation and the challenges and the stories behind their creation. So today we are very lucky. We have Suzy Sulaiman with us. Hello, Suzy.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us after dinner.
Hi. Yeah. So would you like to maybe introduce yourself a little bit, who you are and what you do?
Okay. Well, I always get this question, and I have to say that I have a bit of an identity crisis. I was trained in architecture. I practiced in interior design construction, and then somehow I started off from festival production into now installation art, which is something that I enjoy doing. But I also write, I also teach, and I also make stuff. So it's very hard to say which area, but I think it's easy to say that my background is architecture construction, and somehow I'm doing like the arts. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So multi-talented, many hats.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the way to survive now.
Yes. Sometimes you're a curator as well, like, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I love being. If I get the chance to, I love being a curator actually. But there are a lot of good curators out there, so why should they choose me? So it's okay.
Well, I understand you have a little girl as well.
Yeah, she's not so little already.
Oh, yeah.
She's like almost taller than me. So
really?
I don't know what's in the water. They're growing really tall these days.
Maybe it's in the air.
Yeah, you have to be careful about things in the air. Protect you all.
Okay, so we, as usual, we always start with this little quick question challenge. So there will be 10 questions, but very instinctive. We just answer with one word. Yeah. So we don't want long explanation, and we don't want anything that is planned or structured. So it's very improvisation. Yeah. So that's
okay. All right, let's do.
Yeah. Right? Okay.
Oh my God. Okay, this is the one that will like determine what kind of person. Okay. Let's do it.
Okay. So question number 1. What is your favorite movie?
Godfather.
Question 2. What do you prefer, dawn or dusk?
Dawn.
Question 3. If you could be a superhero, what superpower would you have?
Sleeping.
Okay, question 4. To go up to the mountain or to go to the beach?
Mountain.
Question 5. Name 3 items you would bring to a spaceship for outer space travel.
3 items? Toothbrush, notepad, and a pencil.
Okay.
Question 6. Oh my God. Okay, anyway.
So, what would you do to battle global warming?
Global warming. Oh, wow. That's a big question. What will I do? I have to start using public transport more.
Question 7. If there is a time machine, would you travel to the past or the future?
Pass.
Question 8. What does success means to you?
Success means to be able to choose your job and still get paid for it.
Okay, question 9. Are you an introvert or extrovert?
I think I'm an introvert.
And last one. What is the first thing you would like to do after the MCO?
I like to go have ice cream.
Yeah, true. Great. So we're done with all those 10 questions.
Lucky thing is easy.
Okay, so there is a few
Mm.
things that we would pick up from your answers. Maybe you can explain a little further. So the superpower of sleeping.
Right.
Yeah, so why is it so?
Oh, because we were just talking about this, Ijan, before we go online. You know how our lives are so busy with prior to the MCO, we are running around and
Yeah.
doing things, and I've always thought like sleep, for me, sleep is not just, not being around or just, taking a rest, but sleep is when you actually process a lot of things. You're kind of processing and remembering. So I think like for me, it's also very important to sort of go inside. Sometimes, as a creative, you want to have your internal sort of, I wouldn't say escape, but it's kind of a discovery.
Yeah.
So
It's,
yeah,
conversation within yourself, maybe.
right.
Yeah.
And I think like being a mom and being a wife and all that, and having like, I have pets, I have cats, I have fish, so your responsibility to this sort of reality really sometimes makes me feel like I want to go inward and just, who am I really, so so I think that's why for me that pause is important. So sleep kind of, I don't know, I just think about it as something regenerative, something that helps you grow.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm talking.
Definitely.
Sense, but
yeah. I totally get what you're trying to explain. Yeah, I think
yeah.
that headspace and that zone that you can actually breathe and, restart. It's really
right.
important.
Yeah.
So you choose to go to the past if there's a time machine. Why is it so?
Because you said past or future. And I think the future for me has to be about hope. I don't want to know it. I want to sort of, because you can still control the future. So I think I would be more comfortable just sort of finding the roots rather than, jumping the queue and knowing how it's going to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Actually, I share the same answer.
Yeah.
But many of the friends around me, they actually want to go to the future, but I'm the person who wants to go to the past.
Yeah, high five.
High five. Yeah, that's interesting to know. So last one. So what does success means to you? It's to choose your job and get paid. I think that speaks a lot for artists. Like a lot of people share the same thought. I guess. Yeah. So do you consider you are in that success time of your artistic life right now?
Yeah, because I think I'm not there 100%, but I'm definitely in a comfortable zone, because I think it's not about success as in monetary. I'm just using the example of getting paid for it as a form of acknowledgement, or being appreciated. It doesn't have to be money. So it's kind of like people start to see your value as a creative. For me, that's it's success. It's a success if somebody recognizes your creative output.
Yeah.
Or what you can bring to the table. I think that says a lot about how far you've gone.
Yeah. So a lot of your works, I think it's intersection of there's the element of arts, of architecture, of media technology. Discuss about human and environment.
Yes.
That's how I observe from your work. So how did you find that balance between all these different elements when you put them together usually?
That's a very good question, Ijan. I thought about it for some time. I think it comes from my training as an architect. Because in architecture, we are trained to build a structure or a building. And sometimes, whether we realize it or not, it definitely changes the social behavior. So you imagine, like, if originally it was a park, and then you have condominiums, and then you start having a town, you see how much how these structures start to disrupt or create new patterns of behavior. So I think somehow that awareness has unconsciously translates into my work. I don't really see my art objects as sacred, or like, you cannot touch it, or I think they're more like tools that I put in a certain space, and I like to see how people change their behaviors. Instead of walking in a straight line, they start to like zigzag, or they start to, this area used to be a corridor, and they would stop and like they want to listen. So so I think that's where, when I say the intersection of architecture, space, media, because I'm using media because media is kind of like a friendly interface. People are getting more comfortable with handphones and electronic equipment. So it's just another tool for me to see. So I guess to just cut it short, I think it's because of my training in architecture.
Yeah, it's true. For all of you who are following the live video, you can check out suzysulaiman.com on her website, because there were some really cool video clips and photos about her work that you could see. Actually, this social interaction, it's quite a main thing with a lot of your work, I think. It's sort of like transform a space into a playground kind of concept.
I love it.
That's how I feel every time when
I actually enjoy. Sometimes I would stalk my own audience. Like I would have I would have the artwork somewhere, and then I would come and I would just sit at the corner, and I would just look at how people react to it, and I never announce myself as the creator or I'm the artist, because I really want to see. It's almost like observing animals in their natural environment, so I wanted to also see problems with my art, maybe I shouldn't put this here, maybe I could put it here, maybe it's too high for the kids, I should lower it down, so it kind of gives me, the reaction gives me an honest critique about whether my work is good or not, rather than somebody telling me. I mean, of course, somebody can tell me, but I mean, if I see people naturally engaging with it, that's the most honest kind of critique for me. I don't know what I was talking about. Okay, anyway.
So among a few of all your works, basically. So we have asked Suzy to pick one work of hers. So you choose this Rimba Nusa. Yeah. So we can talk a little further
Jungle
about
of Nusa.
So what is where does this idea comes from, that when you create this work, why do you create this work? What inspired you?
This is very funny, because this is my first work as an installation artist, and I was approached by Suryani to produce an installation for the Medini Live Festival. So I was a bit nervous, because like, okay, now I have to be the artist. So I didn't have any idea until I went to the space. And the space is very interesting, because it's almost like a black box. The entire surface is black, and left and right is a white box and a black box. So suddenly when I went there, I had this, sounds very weird, sounds big, like a crazy person, but I suddenly saw the artwork already finished. Like, it's like a vision. Like I saw it, and all all, because I suddenly I saw some vertical lines, and I thought, oh, this is a very nice circular space. You need something that people can walk around. So the image projected itself to me, and I was actually trying to capture that image I had in my head. So that's how it sort of came to be. It was actually, I was really interested. I mean, of course, I was looking at works by Yuri Suzuki, and of course, there are a lot of Pinterest works on UPVC pipes. I was very interested in looking at how can we use sound to bring people together. And originally at that area before the artwork, it was just like a common space. It was a waiting space. And I saw like families and friends, they would be on their phones, texting. And I was thinking like, okay, so people like to communicate here, but is there a way for me to make people communicate like analog, like with sound, with their own voices? So that's where the idea of this sort of sound pipes came in, because because there were a lot of kids around, because it's actually near to Legoland. And I wanted an artwork where families can play together. Usually we have works where you engage one-on-one with a work, right? But I wanted an artwork where the more people collectively came together, the better it would be. Yeah. And
so,
of course,
there are photos coming up.
I see. Yeah, so it was so, and I really liked how families were playing with each other and discovering how they could speak to each other through these various outputs. So it's a very interesting kind of layering of space. You have the physical space, and you have the space that is created by the sound, or how far your voice travels. Yeah, and I like that kind of very intuitive feel. There's no instructions telling anybody what to do. So it's really based on intuition. Like I had to sort of design and make sure that the mouthpieces were at certain heights, so it would be comfortable for people to just walk up to it. So that's actually all planned, this sort of kind of very intuitive play.
So for this work, Rimba Nusa, so it's interesting, because I think a lot of audience, when they get to see, or they get to hear, or they get to enjoy a piece of art, it's usually the end product of that particular art. Right. So we are trying to go to these back end stories in this season for people to understand how, from the idea and the process, and how at the end this whole thing comes. So in this process of creating this Rimba Nusa, would you like to share with us, like how was the different phase? How does it happen? So first, did you have the idea, and how did it came into this?
So I first had the idea. Then I'm like, again, I'm trained as a designer. So coming back, because the site is in Johor, so coming back to KL, experimented. I also worked with a friend, Akiet, who is a sound engineer, or his DJ. So he also helped me with doing electronics. And so we experimented. So there was a phase of sort of prototyping. I had to prototype the analog sound as well as the electronic sound. And then we brought everything to site, and it was amazing because I got to work with my family. So my husband and my daughter was part of it, because I needed my daughter to test.
Yeah, that was my question. I'm curious. So did she inspire you to do this, or is she always the first audience to experience the art?
She's always the first audience. She's also my critique. She told me that she finds art galleries very boring. I mean, no offense to gallery owners, but she, as a 5-year-old child, she found art galleries to be boring. And she said that if I were to make any artwork, it must be something that she can go underneath it. So that was her brief, So it's interesting for me too, because I think one of the major challenges of being a mother, a woman, a career woman, whatever. It's sort of these when a woman starts to compartmentalize her life. Like, okay, so I'm now a mom from this time to this time. Now I'm a teacher. Now I'm a sister. So I think I wanted to also use my work to bring my family together. So it's kind of like a family project.
Yeah.
And I believe that if the family works together and build this together, the end product is the other families will feel it. They know that this was built collectively, you know, and the way that the audience or the visitors responded to it showed that essence, you know. So so I think if you had a chance to look at the video, a large part of the video is actually behind the scenes, where I'm working with some friends and my husband and my daughter to build it. And then you see actually the same amount of people playing with the work. So it's a kind of interesting mirror.
So how long does this whole process took, from the idea to like building the prototyping and trying out, and then to the end?
Let me see.
Roughly?
I think about 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
But it was intense. It was like non-stop work, and I think I was on site for about 7 days. I was on site, because at one point it became very organic. It's supposed to look like a forest. So the idea is that it should not be too symmetrical. So you have to sort of and then it has to sort of like bloom from the, you know, it sort of blooms. So those things have to be adjusted on the site, you know. So it was like have to so, and then some of my friends decided to make benches, so they went crazy, like, okay, you know, go ahead. So you make benches. You know? So it's really it was really an interesting time, because that small black area became like my short residency. I was literally like living there. That was my on-site residency for a week. Building that piece.
So what was the biggest challenge you find, you know, in the process of creating this work?
Biggest challenge, maintaining it. Because the thing is, this space is not a lot of my works, or all of my works actually. None of my works have been actually, except for the one in Balai. None of my works have actually been displayed in art galleries. So they're always displayed or exhibited in sort of some sort of common space, or like the mall, you know. So maintaining the work. Because we don't have, they don't have a technical team that can maintain the work, you know. So unfortunately, the work cannot be more than a week. Because it has to be dismantled, because there's systems that need to be run, you know. There's electronics, and we don't have people, or we don't have the kind of
the technical support.
So unfortunately, the works have to be like very temporary, you know. So then so not many people can get to kind of play with it.
It's a shame. If you would stay longer, then it would be great.
So I think that's the challenge, because it's when you do work with media art, I think a lot of there's still a lot more kind of infrastructure that we need to be aware of. It's different than producing works like sculptures or painting, you know, because media art works, they're kind of alive. They're like human, they're like babies. You know, so you have to take care of them.
And I think the technical team is also always very important to support the work.
Exactly.
So I understand this work went to Japan just recently.
It won an award. I'm so surprised.
So how did that all happen?
I don't know. It was very it was very, very, it was like, huh, really? What? So because so apparently there's this competition. Actually, it's called UFAB Global Creative Awards. There's a
Mm-hmm.
UFAB competition,
Mm-hmm.
and it's actually organized by Fab Cafe Tokyo.
Mm-hmm.
So Fab is kind of like all these fabrication makers,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And so they actually emailed me and asked me to submit this work.
Mm-hmm.
And I told this very funny story to the organizers, because when I got their email, I thought they were a scam.
Scam. Yeah.
I've been receiving a lot of scams.
Mm-hmm.
But after some digging, I went online, looked at all these. And then I started looking at the judges. Oh, okay, I recognize some of them. So I said, oh, okay, so this is a legit competition. So I submitted as per what they asked me to, and I was very, very surprised that I got like third place. Yeah, because it was like a international media art sort of competition.
Uh-huh.
200 over entries.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I mean, like,
So that brought you personally to Japan to
yeah,
install
yeah,
this work, right?
yeah. It was part of
Just
the
recently, right?
yeah. It was
Yeah.
part of the kind of exhibition. The winners. So the first place was Collective Hysteria from Indonesia, and second
Mm-hmm.
was a dude from Israel, and
Mm-hmm.
then me, and then there was like a Russian girl, and there was
Ooh,
a few Japanese. Yeah, so it's
that
very
sounds
interesting. I was like,
exciting. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I was like, what? Really?
So
Huh?
how
Why did you choose it? Huh? You sure?
so how was the experience installing this work in Japan? How was the response,
Oh,
the people, and how was the process, the experience? Yeah.
yeah, it was actually fantastic, because I've always dreamed of wanting to work with a Japanese production team. you
Mm-hmm.
know, just for the same reason that I told you about the issues of maintenance in
Yeah.
our country. So
Mm-hmm.
I really wanted to see how far can an artist go if she has like a top-notch production team behind her.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and then I discovered that I could produce the same work in half the time.
Yeah.
And the production team was actually pushing me because I was,
Yeah.
so it was amazing. I was like, oh wow, I was hitting the ground running.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that there was a lot of lessons. I mean, I also look at how can I improve my because I think now there will be a lot more artworks that will be required to travel.
Mm-hmm.
So it's also very important that the artists know that the artist is aware about how to make your work travel. How can
Mm-hmm.
it travel?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was interesting for me to like learn about the technical aspects, and then working with technical team, and then having all these sort of remote meetings to talk about the work, and then troubleshooting via
Yeah.
video conferencing. What if
Yeah.
like, so we were going through step by step, from the lorry loading on the ground and getting it into the lift and make sure the pipes are this size, and we were
Yeah.
already troubleshooting all the way. So I was like damn, these people,
Yeah.
like, wow, you're like every detail,
Yeah.
so it was good. It was very good. Yeah, so that's Kato-san. She's helping me in holding the works. So I got the team from Fab Cafe. They were so enthusiastic.
Yeah.
And I also learned how careful they are about the floor. They insisted
Yep.
that I put like a layer of plastic sheet, and I had to cordon off the side, have all these little like danger. It was so highly safety.
Yeah.
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 So everything was clean. It was amazing. And you can see all of them like helping me, because I just had like another day to install.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so this was actually and then when we received the pipes, I had to cut it in the street. This is right down
Yeah.
in Shibuya.
Yeah.
And everybody was thinking we were doing some sort of performance. People were taking pictures. I was just like, oh my God, I'm so tired. And we got really nice sponsors to give. And apparently the pipes in
Mm-hmm.
Japan are not white. So I learned that.
Really?
No, they come in gray.
You mean you can't find it in white?
white is special, very, very
Oh,
special.
okay.
It's three
Uh-huh.
times as more, the cost is three times.
Oh,
So yeah, so those are the things that I learned when I went through
yeah,
resourcing. So we were thinking about making them not white, possibly gray,
yeah.
but luckily they got a sponsor to pay for this, to sponsor the
Oh,
pipes, because white pipes are very expensive.
okay. So if
Yeah,
they don't have white, would you paint them or would you leave it
I
gray? Or
I was no
that
I
would change your work because it won't be the same.
Yeah, it would change. Oh, this is a very cool pipe cutter. I didn't know these things existed. So
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
so you just have to twist it like a can opener, and then there's like no
Oh,
dust
okay.
and anything. Yeah, it's
Whoa.
very well, you know. So it's pretty. It costs like maybe 300 ringgit, 500 ringgit, or something like that. But you
Mm-hmm.
know, yeah. So going back to the color, I had already anticipated not getting white, and I was thinking of putting like stickers, because the problem with the site in Tokyo, in Japan, is that a lot of the interiors are already gray.
Mm-hmm.
So gray on gray doesn't look good.
Yeah.
So I remember I watched this Red Hot Chili Pepper video,
Mm-hmm.
and then was there was this scene where, you know, they had this very contrasting backgrounds, like
Mm-hmm.
orange, yellow, and the instruments in the middle were gray. So I thought, oh, okay, so if I can't control, if I have to use the gray, I need to have like an orange background or a yellow background. So I was even talking about plan B with the
Yeah.
organizers to have stickers at
Yeah.
the back of the work, so at least it will punch out the pipes. But luckily we went, they got the white one, so it
Mm-hmm.
was good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So how was the response? Did you observe the response of the audience? How is it different from when you install this work in Malaysia and then when it happens in Japan? How was the behavior of people, or is it the same, or how
No,
is
of
it
course not.
different?
It's not.
Yeah.
It's very different, because number one, in Malaysia, the site was located, like I said, very near to Legoland. So
Mm-hmm.
you have a lot of this families who were
Family.
on the
Mm-hmm.
way to Legoland. Yeah, and in Tokyo, I mean, first of all, it's Tokyo, and then it's actually located on 18 floors up in this high rise. So it's actually it's like a common workspace area. So people there are very professional, you know. I'm sure they won't simply touch anything, you know. But so luckily we had gallery sitters to encourage, to coerce people
Mm-hmm.
to touch, to look at it, because they won't touch, they would just like observe, you know what I
Yeah.
mean. But in Johor, it's very interesting, because you get this, like, I literally get kids trying to shake it, you know, like testing it out. Or, you know, it's like really, I have to build for, you know, this, I call Malaysians have wild creativity. Malaysians
Mm-hmm.
is very, 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 very strong
Yeah.
responses. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had to sort of I had to, reinforce my work, like
Mm-hmm.
put more, I had to put sand, I had to make it stronger, I had to
Mm-hmm.
screw things in, because, you know, I know the kids are very, they'll test the strength of this work.
Yeah.
So I had already this mindset when I went to Japan, you know, I had to like screw, I had to do this, and then I realized I didn't have to do anything, because people there they hardly touched the work,
Mm-hmm.
or they
Mm-hmm.
touched it very gently, you know.
Yeah.
So I did
Yeah.
not require any kind of reinforcements. It was very interesting.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's
different,
really,
yeah. So
yeah.
I know, yeah. For Malaysia, I have to reinforce like three times.
So it's good that you install it here first.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
all this experiment has been done, and yeah,
Worst case
it's
scenario
safe.
has been done.
It's safe.
It's
Yeah.
safe. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. My biggest concern is if something falls on the audience head, you know, that's my biggest nightmare. So
Mm-hmm.
I have to make sure that everything is reinforced like 3 times more than it should be, you know. Yeah, because, you know, it's because all my works are in public spaces.
Yeah.
So yeah, that element of safety is very important.
Yeah. So usually, where did you find your inspiration? What inspired you?
It's always the site, Ijan.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always the
So
site.
it's in response to a particular site?
Yes.
Or yeah?
Yeah. Sometimes when I go to a site,
Mm-hmm.
I have to like walk around and look and think, and suddenly the thing comes up. There's like a
Image. Yeah.
yeah, there's like an image. There's like an image that wants to happen.
Hologram, like.
Yeah. So so all I have to do is find a way to get that, to get there, to get to that image in my
Yeah.
head. You know,
Mm.
I'm sure like theater producers see the same thing. When you see set design, you see it, you know, in your head. And actually it's just, sometimes it's also just a light, like you see a certain way the light falls and you say, wow, it's very interesting, let's see if we can turn it into an artwork or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but I was really in the beginning I was like, oh wow, it's site specific, as you would say.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes site specific can be a pain in the ass lah, you know, because you have to work on site.
Yeah, there's a lot of elements that is uncertain, usually site specific.
Right.
The challenge comes from all
Weather,
changes.
electricity, weather, you know, heat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for structures, for materials, for that all we have to take into account when we do site specific.
Correct. That's right.
Yeah.
Resources, logistics, bringing it over.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why
It's really always really challenging, but usually it's with artists like yourself, usually the work will come out really amazing, because then, you know, a lot of people can enjoy it. Yeah. Because
I don't
usually
know. I
it's in a
mean,
public. It's
yeah.
yeah. So what do you think is the three most important personality character to be an artist?
Three most important.
Yeah. What is the most important character you need to have to be an artist?
This is a trick question, because I know if I say something, then I sure kena one. Three important to be an artist. I guess one thing. Well, I guess stubborn. You have to be stubborn. Yeah, but then suddenly I'm like a producer and a curator. Ayo, I don't want to deal with stubborn artists. You know, so like. But yeah, I think if I were to say an artist, stubborn in the sense that you're fighting for a certain creative output, you know, and there's a certain sense of confidence, or maybe even call confidence, in your work. And because most of the time you will be doing things that are against the grain, you are, people look to you as an artist because you don't do things that are expected, you know. So that belief in, you have to have a certain guiding principle inside you. Yeah, and somehow that stubbornness is protecting that. But you need to have a principle, I think.
To me, I think what makes an artist is the stubbornness that they have. Maybe stubborn, it's not the
maybe it's
precise word, but there is this certain thing that they hang on to that makes them artists. But I think the scarier part of it is where people feel like, oh, artists are always very weird, or, you know, they are very, they hang on to their view very strongly, that they won't move or they won't change. But to me, it is this character that makes them artists. But how do they communicate that character, or how do they reach what they want? That is the room that it's like you're able to shape. So
correct.
I think it's that's one thing. So you can name three characters.
Okay. I still got more. Okay. Oh, stubborn. I agree with you. Stubborn is the belief, but like how do you send that message out is another way, right? Okay, so the other thing, I think the other thing, an artist needs to have a certain principle, or some sort of belief or that
Yeah,
guides
hang on to
them.
that. We will come to this at the end of this conversation.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yes.
And so I still got 2 or 1?
One.
Okay, one more. What is important for an artist?
Mm-hmm.
Important trait or important for an artist to function as an artist?
Function as an artist. Yeah. What's the characteristics that is important?
I guess support.
Mm-hmm.
Support in a sense, the people around you understand that you're going into some weird moments, and they would just like lay off, like back up. don't don't have to be, how you are you okay, like, oh.
Yeah.
I know I don't look okay, but I'm okay, so you sort of need that breathing space to
Yeah.
pursue your creative
Yeah.
interests.
Yes.
And sometimes the people around you need to understand that, sometimes
Yeah.
you need to go for a month or a 3-month residency, for
Yeah.
instance.
Yeah.
And it would be really nice if the people around you could support you and cover you when you're away and all that.
Yeah.
That's also
True.
important
Yeah.
for, I think, the support.
Right.
Mm.
Yeah. So there were quite a few questions coming in from
Oh.
the audience. So first, what are you working on during this MCO time? Yeah.
Ooh, I'm working on my thesis.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm trying to finish off my writings. I got a
Mm-hmm.
lot of backdated writings. Yeah, so
Right.
it's a very good time for me to sort of reflect on a lot of the conversations I had with artists and start writing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm actually quite happy that we are doing this Arts Beyond Distance sessions with all you artists, because from the first day to today, this is the third day, we have all 3 different artists and they all give really positive feedback about MCO period.
Oh.
Like they are being extra productive, or they are taking this time to actually finally can restructure whatever they're doing, or that kind of, I think it's quite positive coming through an artist of how they actually cope with this really desperate time of
Right, yeah, for sure. I mean, like I said, it's also a good time to look internally. And I mean, for myself, I've always enjoyed writing, and I think there's not enough writing materials on, especially Malaysian art scene. So I try to write what I see, who I talk to, the kind of artists I'm meeting, and it's good to have this MCO as a period to stop doing things and actually start documenting. I think documenting is yeah.
So second question coming from the audience. So on your perspective, how the public art installation gonna take part this year and upcoming?
How the public art this year?
Yeah.
This year. So this year will be tough, I think.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, art installations require crowds. They exist in spaces where a lot of people come around and walk and close together and very close together. And I think based on the kind of news that we're getting, we're not going to see, like, we're not going to return back to normal immediately. Yeah, so I think between now till probably end of the year, we have to do something else. Or how do I say this? Not do something else, because you have to understand. Well, I think maybe I'm not 100% correct, but I think installation actually deals with space. So if you're talking about installation in public spaces, I think it'll be tough but installations in private spaces,
Mm-hmm.
there could be room for exploring that option.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was talking to some friends, and we're looking at how this MCO is changing our practice. From being very public to defining another term of public.
Yeah.
Like what we're doing here is public,
Yes.
but also in our private spaces. So I think there's also it's a very interesting opportunity for us to redefine.
Yeah, I think it's really an interesting time.
Installation.
Yeah, for example, like this, because if this is not during MCO, we might be doing this face to face and in one venue.
Right.
But right now, because of the MCO, we do this online, and we talk about borders and distance. So because of the MCO, it become international and worldwide.
Exactly.
But if not because of MCO, it would be like restrict to like that 50 people in a room.
Correct.
So I think this shift of distance and borders and how this human relationship respond to the term public that you mentioned, I think
exactly. I totally agree.
Yeah, it's at a time of where we really have to look into an alternative model. Yeah, but maybe that model has already existed. But it's just that we don't pay attention to it when we have the freedom to actually meet in person.
Yeah. So actually, this MCO has forced us to think a lot. Think outside of the box. I mean, a true creative, an artist or a producer or curator, they will produce no matter what circumstances. Whether they get paid or not. That's the real. That's the real deal. You don't wait to get paid then do an artwork, right? Or work on a piece, or so I think it's a good opportunity for us to sort of redefine, like because thank you for that question, whoever the person was, because now it sort of forced me to think about installation, not in a public space, but in a public realm, not in a public space like Medan Pasar or not in a public not in a public space, but in a public sphere, in this so it's an interesting time for us to start redefining, I think, how we can push our works still to keep audience.
There's more questions. So one more coming in. Do you think the future is multidisciplinary for an artist? And if so, what advice would you offer for one to pursue?
Do you think the future? Definitely, because it's multidisciplinary it has always been, actually. Multidisciplinary has been around since the 60s, the 50s, but there will be many parallels of art, visual art. I mean, I was talking to some friends before, and because unfortunately in Malaysia, we still seem to pigeonhole performing arts, performance arts, visual art. There's this pigeonholing, and I think a lot of it has to do because of the funding. They want to sort of pigeonhole, but it's not entirely correct, because they are going to be one of the traits of 21st century art would be globalization. What's the word? Multidisciplinary. You'll start to see works, people. It's not going to be done by an individual artist. Works are done by collectives, and they don't necessarily have an art background. You start to see more engineers, musicians. Well, they're art, actually, for me, or even scientists coming in and working together and producing a work. And it's not necessarily an object. It can be a project. So like for the competition that I went to in Tokyo, the first place winner, the grand prize winner, is actually a collective. So they didn't produce any art object. They actually produced biennales. And they won simply because they were producing biennales for their area in Semarang. I hope I am saying this correctly. Yeah, and it was so they won the grand prize simply by their philosophy of how, instead of turning a biennale into sort of like international sort of tourist, it was actually more ground up, so they brought in locals, they brought in academicians, having labs, and they were talking about problems in their town, about waste management, water management, and the biennale was actually for their own people. So it was so interestingly, they won an award for technology. UFAB is actually looking at fabrication technology, and so you can see that how, whether or not we are, I mean, I think it will be quite silly if we just to look at art in just Malaysia. We are so globally connected. So we should look at the bigger picture and see that a multidisciplinary is the practice now. Multidisciplinary practices are winning awards already.
I think the boundaries is getting really blurred right now with all these different art forms being defined. And people are trying to break through.
Right, exactly. So they say, how do you prepare for it? Well, I guess if it requires a person to have a good sense of teamwork. You need to be able to work well in a team. So I guess a bit of management won't kill you. Good time management, be on time for meetings. Having your sort of creative discussions together, build things together. So I think that idea of I was working with my brother in theater for a while, and and that sort of experience being on the controls, working with production team, really taught me about teamwork. So that was
I love the fact that you brought up this teamwork as a keyword, because I think when we work multidisciplinary, because people coming from different training backgrounds, so it's technically a different language. But then when you work together as a team to do something, you really need that teamwork to communicate. Because in the past, maybe when you work within performing arts or within theater, it's pretty much similar. So that is the same language. When you work in visual art, it's pretty much one language. But when you cross all these different disciplines, and then it becomes, you have to learn very quickly that teamwork in order to actually communicate very well with people who come from different training background. Okay, so one last question. What would you love to see more in Malaysia art scene?
What would I see? What would I love? I would love to see, actually, I don't know. Maybe I actually like to see more writing, more writing, because when I talk to my curator friends overseas, it doesn't seem to be much information about Malaysia. Because a lot of the artwork has to be seen. So we have to start having more archiving or writers, or even artists writing about their works in a more serious manner, or I think that level of sort of reflection or critique, we don't have that.
We don't have enough.
We don't have enough critique.
It's difficult for people who don't live here to navigate, because there is simply very, very limited information that they could
Exactly. People want to come into Malaysia and not kind of have an understanding of the scene. The first thing they will do is read. They'll start reading. They'll start looking things up or on the internet, So there's not enough for me. I'm trying to write on myself, but there's not enough sort of written text
Yeah, I
which
totally
is
agree. Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is actually making a lot of international curators bypass
Yeah. Yeah.
bypass Malaysia.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's the sad thing. That's why, I mean,
Yeah.
even if you just write about your own works, it's
Yeah.
good enough, you know.
Yeah.
At least there's some
Yeah.
form of documentation
Yeah.
and archiving.
Yeah.
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 Mm.
All right. So we're going to conclude this session with your artistic statements. So
Oh
remember,
yeah.
I asked you to hold on to that earlier when you said 3 characteristics to become an artist. So the second one
This is
that you
like a
mentioned.
game show.
So what
Okay.
is your artistic statement?
The principle, right? The
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
statement, Um, I don't, now I'm like, what's the print? Well, what drives me?
Yeah,
What
yeah. Why do you want to become an artist? Or why do you,
I want to become an artist?
why do you do what you do?
Why do I do what I do?
Yeah.
Eh, mm, I think
Or if you have any advice for people who wants to take this path. Yeah.
the, you know what, Ijan? This is really funny because all my life, my father told me don't become an artist. So
Oh, really?
yeah. So it's so funny, and I've been struggling to not. I've been struggling to
Not
follow
becoming.
follow my father's
Yeah.
prophecy of not becoming an artist.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So it's, but unfortunately it's already inside me, and for the years in my early adulthood, when I was early adulthood, well, I'm like not so early anymore. So um I was struggling with not listening to this part of myself,
Mm-hmm.
of pursuing like full creativity.
Yeah.
I was thinking about like, okay, I have to follow what my dad said and my mom said,
Mm-hmm.
and then finally I just snapped, because somehow you cannot deny that thing that's inside of you.
Yeah.
That's only how many years you can deny.
Yeah.
So I when I started to pursue it, it started to really make things more in balance for me. I realized that this was the thing that was missing in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I suddenly, all my negativity that I used to have was actually balanced out when I started doing art.
Mm-hmm.
Then I realized, oh, so I've been suppressing this desire for so long.
Mm-hmm.
It has sort of like made me, unstable. But so it's actually this internal calling.
Mm-hmm.
If you have that inside of you, if you feel you need to express yourself in some way,
Mm-hmm.
but you sort of, oh no, I shouldn't, oh, it's a waste of time, or I got other things to do, it will actually kind of build up in you, and it's not healthy. Yeah. So I think why I do what I do is I have to do it, yeah. I just, it's of course money is nice, but even when I'm not being paid to do it, or to produce artwork, I'm still drawing or thinking or exploring. It's kind of like how your mind works
Practice.
already.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's your practice. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's a principle, but I think that would be, it's your internal calling.
Yeah.
As cliche as that sounds, but yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's that motivation that is so strong that you just couldn't resist. When you resist, it become unhealthy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. So thank you very much for joining us today. I'm really glad we had this chance to do this conversation.
Yeah. Thank you,
Yeah.
Ijan. And thank you,
Thank you,
everybody.
Suzy. And thank you, everybody who joined us in the video. Please remember to like and share our Facebook, because then you can see what we have discussed. All the works of Suzy, and the photos and videos and the link and her website will be posted later on the Facebook page, and then you can look into her website. She has quite a good archiving on her website of her works. Yeah. So I wish you all good health. And remember to stay home, don't go out, and wash your hands, stay healthy, eat healthy, and do a lot of exercise. Don't always sit in front of the laptop.
Ouch!
Right, because we are done now, so you can get up and move away from the screen.
Are you talking to me?
No, I mean all these people who
okay.
the live video, right? So now is the time to leave the computer screen. Yeah. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Right. Bye.
Bye.